Hi everyone, this is Ashwati Prashant, Assistant Professor and Course Coordinator, Department of English, Jamia Hamdard, Kannur campus. This is the final video, that is the 19th video in the series on Aristotle's Poetics. So, this will contain part 26, the last chapter as well of the same book. And that is under section 5 of the book, that is comparative value of tragedy and epic poetry. So Aristotle is going to draw the connection as well as comparison between these two types of that is two kinds of artistic forms. Now part 26 we can title it to be, or the text titles it to be, epic and tragedy compared in excellence. And some part he may talk about comedy as well. Now epic and tragedy compared, that is the title. So we know normally we do not go for a comparison for excellence of any kind of artistic genre. That is, sometimes we talk about, yeah, I like fiction, I like poetry, I don't like drama, or I like drama. But it's not very common for us to talk about the compared to excellence of something, to place one thing something over the other. That is not usually done. But in the case of Aristotle, we know with the whole analysis of the text, we have been coming across the fondness or the fascination, the kind of the passion Aristotle holds for tragedy as a literary type. Not just drama, but tragedy in general. Tragedy exclusively, if you want, you can talk about tragedy and the way Aristotle gives importance for the same, as well as the fondness he holds for that kind of art. Now, he begins here, the question may be raised as to whether the epic or the tragic mode of imitation is the higher form of imitation. So, this question may be there. It is more refined art is the higher, and the more refined is always that which appeals to the better public. Therefore, an art which imitates any and everyone is of a very vulgar order. It is a belief that their public cannot see meaning unless they add something themselves that causes the perpetual movements of the performers. We know tragedy is not just meant for reading, but also for acting. So performance is always part and parcel of a tragedy, or it is highly implied in that form of art. But epic is not the same. Epic does not hold any kind of performance along with that. So here he tells that, of course, as a visual representation or an art form that holds the possibility of visual representation, that involves movement and acting on the part of people. So this is, again, it is going to address multitude of audience. There is many different kinds of audience it is going to address, so that there is every chance that this may contain many vulgar order. That is, for satisfying any kind of audience, many different kinds of people that may hold different varieties of, or that may add or contain different kinds of writing situations which really portray something immoral, sometimes maybe adding more color, sometimes exaggerating. All these are possible, and that can be possibly a charge against tragedy. So Aristotle anticipates this, and he has answers with a very precise ideas. He makes his ideas very clear along all these lines, all these charges. Let us see. And orders a belief that their public cannot see the meaning unless they add something themselves that causes the perpetual movements of the performers. So he anticipates the the requirement of action or acting on stage that comes along with the tragedy. Now he says the case against tragedy, so that can be, epic is said to address a cultivated audience. We say that epic deals with a very serious kind of action, as well as a very serious life of a human being treated in with that much seriousness. So only very cultivated audience may approach an epic, so that it can always keep its standard. That's what is going to be a positive of epic in that regard. And again, that can be at the same time, it can be a charge against tragedy as well, because that is not going to be dealt only by very cultivated or elite class of audience. It is a performance. It is a performance art. So we cannot always restrict people that you are not supposed to watch this. You cannot go there. You cannot watch that once it is staged. But epic is not like that. Even we know how reading was prevented, and how people of different different classes were prevented from reading different books, especially religious texts and all, during a long period of literature, long period of history. Human history was with the denial of this basic right of reading, even for different kinds of sectors of people. That is especially the low class people, as per their standards, as per that those time period, we could see all these problems or inequalities existing during a time period. But now it is open for everyone. Even epic, you cannot restrict it in that way. Now he tells, so that is again which does not need the accompaniment of gesture. Which one? Epic. And tragedy, as so in that regard, uncultivated one. If therefore tragedy is a vulgar art, it must clearly be lower than the epic. So that is that argument may end up in that way. So as it contains acting and performance and vulgar art, so it may be obviously lower than the epic. That may be the argument that goes or that gets strength. But Aristotle has to much to add to that, and he wants to prove how, as per his opinion, tragedy comes as the first, or tragedy is stays at the highest level. Answer, twofold answer he gives. One may urge that the censure does not touch the art of the dramatic poet, but only that of his interpreter. For it is quite possible to overdo the gesturing even in an epical ritual. So of course you are talking about the art acting part that is accompanied by tragic performance, so that there is every chance for the vulgarities, the overdoing of the actors to come along with the reading or the dialogues. This is the way you try to assert that tragedy is somewhere relegated, or so you are trying to relegate tragedy to the second position. But he tells that doesn't have anything to do with that, doesn't even touch the art of the dramatic poet, because that is just with the interpreter. Okay, an actor is acting on the stage, an actor is performing. He or she may overdo something, and the same is possible in an epic also. You're reading an epic, and the interpreter takes the very, very calm and quiet scene that should be read in a very calm and quiet manner. He or she reads it aloud, or like a somewhat exaggerated manner. That is possible in reading as well. So you cannot tell that just because of the performance on the part of some other people, a dramatic writing, dramatic creation becomes somewhere vulgar. That is again another part. That is only with the interpreter. Even if some art is performed in a very balanced manner, people feel like it is overdoing. Sometimes even we get mixed responses in just think about some of the movies that is the recent reviews, where we have mixed responses for the same scene. Some people feel like they have done the maximum, that is perfect in that regard, but some people tell that, oh, this is something really awkward. So these are possible. That is just a part of the interpretation. That's what Aristotle tells. And then second argument goes like that one should not condemn all movement unless one means to condemn even the dance, but only that of ignoble people. In that regard, movement, if you people find it very difficult to accept as something normal, or something that is highly balanced, that is possible. That possibility of assessment or that kind of a stigma can happen in any case, not just with the tragic movements on the stage that are attached with the tragedy, not alone can invite negative remarks. Here, third point is the tragedy may produce its effects even without movement or action in just the same way as epic poetry. Far from the mere reading of play, its quality may be seen. That is another, the reversed kind of argument. That is, we in the beginning we told a drama is a performing art. It is not only meant to be read but also to be staged. And here Aristotle says the reverse, when on behalf of staging and performance, when it is somewhere criticized, he tells that it can be read as well, it can be felt apart from its staging. If no staging at all takes place, even then you can read it and you can enjoy that as you do with any other narrative art forms. So that, see, if it be superior in all other respects, this element of inferiority is no necessary part of it at all. If you try to relegate tragedy to the second position while comparing with the epic, that part on which you are making all these arguments, that are unlikely gestures, the acting that can exaggerate or that may move out of its balance, all these are somewhere, if you want, you can assess to be, or you can assert to be, a super addition or a luxury. If you do not want, you can make it completely stay away from the scenario, and you can just read and enjoy the dramatic or tragedy as such without having any performance or anything. You just imagine the characters, you just imagine their mindsets, the situations, the toughness the tough situations or the better situations they are undergoing, and you can assess the characters and you can enjoy the art even in that level. That's what Aristotle tells. Now, in the second place, one must remember that tragedy has everything that the epic has, together with a not inconsiderable addition in the shape of the music and the spectacle. That is again better one. That is, you have apart from all other epic and tragedy, if you take the different parts, elementary parts, tragedy has everything the epic holds, and as an addition it has music and a spectacle. And music you can take it to be very positive side of that. Then second one, that it in its reality of presentation is felt in the play as read as well as in the play as acted. That is the point that we have already told. And that the tragic imitation required less space for the attainment of its end, which is a great advantage, since the more concentrated effect is more pleasurable than one with a large admixture of time to dilute it. That is what we talked about, the organic unity, the organic size that should embrace within, or to limit the whole play within the single revolution of the sun, preferably, because you cannot make the audience stay for long days to watch the same event. So it is about limiting the whole length of the tragic play, and that is one advantage as far as Aristotle is concerned. Then fourth point is, there is less unity in the imitation of the epic poets. That this is proved by the fact that any one work of theirs supplies for the matter for several tragedies. See, from one epic itself, different tragedies, many tragedies can arise, because that is a combination of many events in the life of a hero. This is not just about a war time. This is not just about a very crucial time in the life of a hero, which is really necessary to choose the incidents which are highly connected with the main plot in a tragedy. So that is again an advantage as far as Aristotle is concerned. Aristotelian view is concerned. Then, so that is, you can limit the space, and that is more we can comprehend all that in one stretch. So then it can see yeah, supplies for the matter for several tragedies. The result being that if they take what is really a single story, it seems cut when briefly told, and thin and waterish when on the scale of length usual with their verse. So this is really lengthy. Epic is a very lengthy kind of writing, and that cannot assure any kind of organic or comprehensive unity as such, for because of the space that it can afford. It incorporates many different episodes or incidents from the life of the main hero. So it adds to its length, but it always becomes incomprehensible for the human memory. And there is less unity because of in an epic, the epic made up of a plurality of actions. That's only that can add up to the length. So it is a plurality, it is a combination of plurality of actions and many parts, each of them in itself of some magnitude. So that is again, each of those episodes in itself is of a magnitude, and that is as a whole, when you take an epic, it is really incomprehensible for the normal human memory, or so it cannot be easily embraced by the memory. That's at least we can tell about that. It's not that we cannot read and we cannot understand it at any level or at any point, but all of a sudden or at a sitting we cannot comprehend it at all. Then the final answer he gives as the conclusion of his book: tragedy is superior in those respects, and also besides these, in the poetic effect, it is clear that as attaining the poetic effect better than the epic, it will be the higher form of art. So in any regard, every regard, he wants to tell that this itself is the best form of art. According to Aristotle, he concludes it in that way. He attaches all prominence and privileges to, he confers all privileges to tragedy itself. So thank you so much.